Senator Warner.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for holding this hearing, and to the panel and the mayor. I'm going to incorporate by reference what everybody has said about housing shortage and all the things we need to do. I'm going to quickly go through, so I can get to questions, my litany of some of the tools, Mr. Mayor, that I think, and almost all of these are bipartisan. New market tax credit extension with Senator Daines, Neighborhood Home Investment Act. This is the fill-in opportunity from the Dallases to almost every community. We've got to make sure that if there's aging properties, they can be filled in at a cost-effective basis. Historic tax credit in terms of rural applications, and the traditional tax credit as well. And I know CDFI tax credit, and I'm going to come to that with Ms. Willis in a moment. I also want to advertise for particularly my Republican colleagues something we put together last year called the LIFT Act, which would be focused on first-generation, first-time home buyers, which by definition ends up being two-thirds people of color. And the subsidy comes in the form, and I'm going to come to you, Mr. Glazer, on this one, that says, in addition to some of the other tools, if you qualify, you would get you'd pay a 30-year rate, but you get a 20-year mortgage. So you double the amount of equity you get in the first 10 years. And I think the ranking member's already mentioned this. Something I've been doing on CDFIs about trying to make sure we get a secondary market. So why don't I start, Mr. Glazer, with you on, no, actually, on LIFT, I was going to go to Mr. Jelnick. Could you speak to that idea of how we can try to deal with not just racial wealth gap, but the ability for first-time home buyers to build up equity with something innovative like the LIFT program?
Senator Warner, thank you for the question. I am a little familiar with the LIFT Act, and I understand exactly as you explained it, where the consumer would get the benefit of a 30-year rate, but essentially have the ability to build equity as if it was a 20-year mortgage. I think we would really like to dig into this with you, and it's products like this that get us excited. That again, whether it's a product like this or something else that's delivered without increasing risk or ability to repay, which this doesn't do either of those, and gets people on that path of achieving the American dream and getting that equity in their homes. I would love to explore further, but yeah, we would definitely be supportive of something like that.
And I will go to Mr. Glazer, which is I think, again, lots of people have talked about the need to have more incentives for localities to improve their zoning tools. I've got two notional ideas, and I do think potentially the CDBG grants having a carrot to maybe even increase those if you would, limit your zoning requirements. One is, commercial to residential. There's not a community in America that doesn't have an aging strip mall of one form or another. I don't think they're ever going to come back. You've already got infrastructure built in. How we could use that tool, but to really incent those conversions, number one. And then number two, and I think some other folks may have raised this, but how we can actually work with religious institutions. I mean, lots of churches, synagogues, mosques who have lots of available land. I've got in Northern Virginia a church that's been trying for 5 years to put a multifamily unit, and it would not disrupt the neighborhood, but it's, 5 years is way too long, and they've not moved a shovel of dirt. So can you talk about, beyond CDBG, what other tools we might use to try to give incentives to localities that change their zoning restrictions?
These are great questions, Senator. And let me just join with you in a profound desire to see those single-use zoning rules that were imposed throughout America starting in the 1920s, see them repealed back. Now, they have to be repealed back at the local level, not at the federal level. But this is a tremendous curse, and it's a curse for cities that are trying to reinvent themselves post-COVID, especially those cities that have huge individual office markets. It's a curse for suburban areas that have strip malls that were once the cutting edge of retail and are now not there anymore. So I think thinking about this is great. Again, I would probably push on something which is sort of, again, using some form of carrots and sticks with federal funding to just nudge more production, but, maybe a specific discussion of how great it would be to sort of allow different uses of land. I think that would be very helpful.
Well, and I did, again, to my colleagues on both sides, we're doing some of this in Virginia, but need to do much more. There are so many religious institutions, and with that contribution, you take out the cost of the underlying land. So there's a win-win here, and I think an interesting partnership. Ms. Willis, in the last couple of seconds, CDFIs, you and I visited on this in the past. You important niche. We need to give these additional benefits. We actually, frankly, need more. Under the last administration, we got $12 billion in Tier 1 equity and grants, but we need more deposits. So can you talk for a few seconds about the CDFI?
Sure. Thank you, Senator. So CDFIs are important. They offer flexible loans to build and preserve affordable housing for rental homes, for healthcare clinics, grocery stores, things that the communities need, schools, and so forth. But they also play an important role in expanding economic opportunity and development in distressed communities. And they offer interest rates that are flexible, that are better, that have a better reach for underserved communities as well. And through the Capital Magnet Fund, CDFIs they financed over 83,000 affordable homes. So it's extremely important, the role that CDFIs play.
Good. Thank you.
Senator Moreno. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.